But one thing I do like about this bike is this new piece of tech that they announced, which I talked about in the intro. So I know that the 1300GS already had front and rear facing radars. I don't know if you've had a chance to try a bike with active cruise yet, have you, mate?
No, I haven't actually. I haven't even been in a car with it, to be honest, so no.
Well, it's something we'll definitely try and hook up at some point, because I think it's a brilliant tool if the motorway is busy and the traffic is yo-yoing a bit. It's just another thing that can help, ease the mental burden of riding. But also, the rear radar gives you blind spot warnings, and that's something that's present on quite a few bikes. So Tiger 1200 that we talked about earlier, some of the multistradas can be spec'd up with it. This bike, gets the rear radar, but one of the new features announced for the R1300GS Adventure, and this will also be available on the new GS as well, the 1300GS standard bike from 2025, is called RECW, or rear end collision warning. We've talked about rear end collisions on the pod a few times, haven't we?
Yeah, once or twice it's come up,
Yeah. Well, the new rear end collision warning system signals an impending rear end collision to following traffic by flashing the hazard warning lights with a higher frequency. So I think what I love about this, mate, is when I've seen indications of what a rear end collision warning would be for a motorcycle, and not that I don't think it exists on any bike, but I've seen kind of like maybe prototypes or design ideas, and there's third-party stuff like Third Eye from Innov, which is like a radar that can fit any bike that does blind spot warnings. I've tried some camera systems as well. It's almost like the onus is on the rider, like, oh, someone's going to smash into the back of you, and we can maybe present a warning on the dash or in your mirrors or something like that. So that to expect that. But it's like, as the rider, what can you realistically do if someone's flying up behind you?
Well, I don't know whether that's better or worse to kind of know it's coming. Probably better, but imagine it flashes at you. I don't know, what do you do to that? Just fucking throttle on and fly off
into a junction. I mean, I assume you've stopped because you're at a roundabout or a junction. Like, I don't know if anyone's ever properly got one to market, because I think that's where people were perhaps struggling with the concept of it. It's an obvious safety issue for bikers that you're going to get shunted occasionally at junctions and stuff. It's happened to so many people over the years. Surely it's like a very common motorcycle accident, and it feels like there's very little you can do about it. And so why not take the like I say, the onus away from the rider, who really can't do much about it, and put it onto the driver to kind of pay attention and make sure that they realise the bike is there. I think this is a brilliant feature.
Yeah, it's for sort of carelessness then, is it? It's for people, if they were sort of edging up, or not edging up to you, but say if someone's distracted, they're not paying attention, then the bike realises they're coming up a bit too fast, flashes to let them know to brake a bit harder, or what, I guess?
I think those accidents possibly happen because people just don't see a car, and I don't know if you've ever had that. I think it can happen where you look and you don't see a car. You don't, especially at night, you don't see two headlights as well. It makes it slightly more difficult to pick out the bike. And I think realistically, this is probably going to give the driver enough time, if those signals start flashing, to do an emergency stop and not ram into somebody. And it's interesting, right? Like, some of the features on bikes with radars, like active cruise control and stuff like that, where you're kind of handing a bit of control over to the bike. It seems like people are not sold on that. Some people like the new tech. Others are like, why would I even want that on my bike? It detracts from the joy of riding the bike as well. I always want to be in control. But there are certain things like blind spot warnings and these rear collision warnings where that's out of your control anyway. That's very much down to how the traffic is behaving. And so for me, I think this is going to be something that is more universally liked by bikers, and it's something that, like, I wish you saw more and more bikes, and especially if someone can develop a third party system that you could fit like this to your own bike and splice into the indicator somehow. I think that'd be a great thing that I'd be super interested in.
Like you say, it doesn't detract from the riding experience, right? So I don't see how you could dislike it, unless maybe it's a bit too sensitive or kind of gets in the way. But it's passive, isn't it? It's not affecting how you ride the bike. It just might add a little bit extra safety, which is always a good thing.